Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's great to see a good turnout here today and lots of interest in Saanich's new oil to heat pump financing program. I'm going to introduce myself in just a minute, but I wanted to start off with just a couple of housekeeping items. You should, as I've just asked, if you could all please just mute yourself for the duration of the presentation so we don't have any background noise. And then at the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask them. If you do have a question at the end, please use the raise hand function if you would like to ask a question. But alternatively, you can also put questions in the chat box and we'll be monitoring that throughout the session and then answering those questions at the end. We are recording today's presentation, but we will end the recording before we move to the Q&A portion of the session. So don't be shy about asking any questions you may have. We will post the slide deck as well as the recording on our website for anyone who was not able to make today's webinar, or if you'd like to review the content again at a later date. So with that, we'll begin. Thanks again for coming. And for your interest in Saanich's oil to heat pump financing program. My name's Maggie Bainham. I'm a senior sustainability planner with the District of Saanich, and I'll be joined today by Grant Stott, who is our program administrator with City Green Solutions, and who will be co-delivering the presentation with me. So it's appropriate we begin by acknowledging that the District of Saanich lies within the territories of the Lekwungen peoples, represented by the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and the Saanich peoples represented by the Sartlip, Pakwachin, Sayout, Saykum, and Malahat nations. We'd also really like to thank the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Real Estate Foundation of BC for their financial contributions that have made this program possible. So before we delve into the details of the oil to heat pump financing program, we wanted to provide a little bit of context on the bigger picture and the reason Saanich is offering this program. The key driver is really around climate action and our intention to achieve GHG reductions that are in line with global science-based targets. In 2020, Council adopted our renewed climate plan that commits to cut our community-wide GHG emissions in half by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050, and transition to 100% renewable energy by 2050, as well as prepare for a changing climate. We also have targets for our corporate emissions as an organization that put us ahead of the community-wide reduction, so we're leading by example. Of course, oil is a fossil fuel that has significant GHG emissions associated with it, and we're looking for innovative ways to address barriers for our residents in replacing their oil heating with renewable energy. So according to our latest 2020 community-wide GHG inventory, buildings account for about 34%, so a third of our total emissions. We estimate that there's over 4,000 oil furnaces still being used for heating today in our community. And together, those account for a disproportionately high 20% of our residential building emissions. We have a climate plan target to eliminate oil heating in our community by 2030, which means we need to see about 525 oil heating systems replaced each year. And our climate plan has an action in it that gave direction for us to launch a home energy retrofit municipal financing pilot project, which we're now calling the oil to heat pump financing pilot. It's a little bit less of a mouthful. So the key program goals are to address the upfront cost barrier for heat pump installations, which we know can be a significant barrier, even with the generous rebates that are available today. We want to improve affordability as well. Oil is a really expensive heating fuel, and we estimate that most participants will save somewhere between $1,400 and $3,500 in energy costs annually, which more than covers the annual repayments through our program. Of course, we want to reduce GHG emissions. As I've mentioned, each oil furnace that is replaced with a heat pump will save on average 7 to 8 tons of GHG emissions per year. But it also provides air conditioning that will help our residents be more resilient with the more extreme and frequent heat waves that are expected. The program will also reduce the risk of oil leaks and contamination, and this has both environmental benefits as well as financial benefits for our residents who may be responsible for those uninsured costs in those events. And lastly, we really wanted to test and refine this type of financing as a tool for climate action, knowing that the province is working on enabling legislation that would allow this type of program to scale up to build more building types and retrofits in the future. So why heat pumps? Heat pumps are the most energy efficient and the most climate friendly heating systems that are available in BC. Heat pumps have efficiency ratings between 300 and 400%. So for every 1 unit of energy that you use, 3 to 4 units of energy are transferred to your home. In comparison, an oil furnace may be somewhere between 50 and 83% efficient based on Natural Resources Canada research. And because of this high level of efficiency, the operating costs of a heat pump are generally similar to what you would see to run a natural gas furnace. Since BC's electrical grid is almost 100% renewable, heat pumps can reduce oil-heated homes' carbon footprint, as I mentioned, in some cases from over 10 tons annually to less than 1 ton with a heat pump. And as I mentioned again, heat pumps provide not only heating in the winter, but cooling in the summer. They also offer dehumidification and air filtration features that most conventional heating systems typically do not. So property assessed clean energy financing, that's the tool that we're using to offer this financing program. It's a really innovative financing tool. It's actually the first of its kind to be offered by a local government in BC. Council adopted a heat pump financing service bylaw to establish the program on March 28th of this year. And we'll be using a local area service to provide the financing service to participating properties, which is attached to the property by a bylaw. So traditionally, just as some background information, traditionally local area services have been used by municipalities when, for instance, a neighborhood would like a capital investment for their street or some other defined geographic area and are willing to pay for it themselves. For instance, they would petition the local government for new street lighting on their block. So this is an existing tool that local governments have, but it's not been employed for climate action purposes to date. And then repayment is initiated via property taxes through a parcel tax bylaw once the upgrades are completed. In other provinces where property assessed financing has become more common, the provincial government has developed enabling legislation and programs that really help to streamline the process for both local governments and participants. So this is actually something that our province has committed to doing here in BC, and we're really excited about that. So this pilot program is an opportunity to learn and inform the provincial program as well. And we expect that to be available within the next couple of years. So going forward, we've been really pleased with the high level of interest in the program. We did send a message out to registrants of this webinar earlier to just notify you that the standard stream is already full. We are currently taking a wait list with the receipt of a completed registration form, and there are still spots available within the income qualified stream. So we'll go over those, what that means and the threshold later in the session. So as I mentioned, this is a pilot program. We'll be learning from our successes and challenges to inform future iterations and potential expansion. And I just wanted to highlight, lastly, some of the complementary programs that are available, both for our participants, but as well as for those who are interested in the standard stream and haven't secured a spot. There's significant provincial and federal incentives for an oil to heat pump upgrade, depending on the stream that you are in, over $6,000 to $9,500 from the province, and that's in addition to $5,000 from up to $5,000 from the Canada Greener Homes Grant. And I wanted to also lastly highlight a complementary program that helps you to understand sort of the range of upgrades that may be a good fit for you in your home. So in addition to switching out your oil furnace for a heat pump, if you want to think about things like insulation or windows, there's a free virtual home energy checkup with Capital Region's Bring It Home for Climate program. And with that, you get an opportunity to talk to an unbiased energy expert to discuss your options. You can get more technical information about the technologies you're considering. You can get support along the way, such as when you have received several quotes and you would like some support in comparing them. So highly recommend that program if you're interested in kind of thinking about your house as a system and all the opportunities that may be available. And with that, I will finally hand it over to Grant. And again, please do feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will take them at the end of the session. Over to you, Grant.
Thanks, Maggie. Hi, everyone. Like Maggie said, my name's Grant. I work with City Green Solutions. We're an enterprising nonprofit that's focused on energy efficiency and energy efficiency programming for our government partners, and we're really excited to be working with Saanich to help bring this program to you. So I'll just start with what's on offer. So the District of Saanich is offering financing of up to $12,000 with 0% interest over a payback term of 10 years. And this financing is specifically going to be available for homeowners to switch from oil furnaces and boilers to all electric heat pumps. So like Maggie mentioned, it is a pilot program. So there's a cap of 50 participants at the moment. The 25 standard spots are currently full, and we're waitlisting any registrants. And there are 25 income qualified spots as well. There is still quite a bit of space available in income qualified stream. And of course, if there is always the possibility of program expansion. So what are the benefits to the homeowner of this program? So it can really lower or produce a no upfront cost situation for homeowners who are upgrading from oil to a heat pump. There's going to be no additional administrative fees and 0% interest, so you're just going to have to pay back the amount of financing that you're accessing. Like Maggie mentioned, there's those significant savings on your energy bills. Most, if not all, participants should be saving more than they're having to pay on their financing per year. Homeowners maintain eligibility for both the Clean BC rebates and the Canada Greener Homes Grant. That is a benefit over the existing Clean BC 0% interest financing, as if you access that Clean BC 0% interest financing, you do lose eligibility for the Clean BC rebates, which are quite significant right now. And then there are low barriers to accessing this financing, so there's no credit checks or anything like that. It's only going to be, you need to have your property taxes in good standing and be in good standing with your municipal utility bills. So a bit of other important information. The participants must use a pre-approved contractor that's on our eligible contractors list. I'll just note that the program doesn't endorse any particular contractors. So I recommend that you get a few different quotes to compare recommendations and costs before you choose your contractor. Eligible contractors through our program are also registered with the provincial Clean BC rebate program. They've completed their provincial heat pump best practices training for installations and have their commercial liability insurance. Currently, our program cannot be combined with the 0% interest Clean BC financing offer, just as a note. And we are strongly recommending that if homeowners have a mortgage on their property, that you talk to your mortgage lender about your participation in this program, just to ensure that it doesn't contravene any terms of their mortgage. But from our discussions with mortgage lenders, it really shouldn't, but it's good to talk to your specific lender. So how does the program work? It's just a simplified workflow of how it's going to work, your interaction between you and your preferred contractor. So you're going to register for this program by submitting a registration form, either by mail, in person, or through our secure upload link, which we'll get into later. Once we've reviewed that registration form and approved it, we'll send you a petition to sign. And that petition will have to be signed and returned to the district before specific intake dates, which will be listed on the website. Our current next intake deadline is June 6th. And the reason for that is so that your petition can be included in the next council meeting so that your local area service bylaw can be enacted. So once you'll receive notice that your bylaw has been enacted, and at that point you'll be able to submit documentation for both an EnerGuide report. The EnerGuide report can potentially be done before. We're accepting EnerGuide reports that are dated on or after April 1st, 2020. So if you have an existing report, but you haven't done a heat pump upgrade yet, that's okay. And then you can get your heat pump, also submit your heat pump quote. It's important to note that the heat pump installation cannot initiate before the financing agreement is signed. That is the next step. So once you've submitted the EnerGuide evaluation report and your preferred heat pump quote, we'll review that. If everything looks good, we'll produce you a financing agreement to sign. Once you've signed and returned that to us, that's when work can initiate by the heat pump contractor. Now, when the heat pump contractor is completed their work, they'll submit directly to the program a detailed invoice, any permits related to the work, as well as they should be asking you to co-sign a work completion report for the program. And so they'll submit that documentation to us. We'll review it, and then we'll release the payment of up to $12,000 directly to your contractor. Any costs above and beyond $12,000 will be the responsibility of the homeowner. And after that point, the district initiates your financing billing, and that will appear on your next property tax bill. So we'll just go over home eligibility. It is fairly close to the eligibilities related to the Clean BC and Canada Greener Homes Grant programs. The property has to be within the district of Saanich and be an owner-occupied primary residence. It has to be one of the eligible types of homes for the Clean BC program. Those types are single-family detached, duplex, side-by-side row home or townhome, and mobile home on a permanent foundation. And then the other stipulation is that the replacement of broken oil heating equipment will not be accepted. So the oil heating equipment needs to be currently able to heat the home. Homeowners, and like I mentioned before, homeowners have to have that financing agreement that we send them signed before any heat pump work can start. So if you've already started a heat pump installation, then that's it's too late to do the program. All right. For eligible systems, it is going to be the exact same requirements as doing an oil to heat pump upgrade through the Clean BC Better Homes program. We will be using their qualifying product list to vet any documentation that you provide us. So air-to-air ductless or central systems, and air-to-water hydronic or hydronic heat pump systems. For example, those might replace a combi boiler. All those can be eligible for the program. And yeah, if you're looking to vet a system yourself before submitting documentation, you can do that by calling the Clean BC Energy Coaching Service or visiting the heat pump list at betterhomesbc.ca. The Energy Coaching Service can also take you through any additional requirements for the Clean BC program. So what can be covered by this financing? Essentially anything that is related to the upgrade. So the heat pump capital costs, installation costs, oil tank removal, energy or electrical upgrades. So for example, if you need your home's panel amperage upgraded in order to handle a heat pump, that can potentially be covered. Ducting modifications, if your home needs some ducting changes to suit a heat pump, or if you want additional air filtration systems. So most heat pumps do come standard with air filtration, but if you wanted to upgrade that with like a HEPA filter for health reasons, that could potentially be covered as well. So like I mentioned, there is the Saanich income qualified side of the program that still has some spaces available. To be considered income qualified, you'll need to fall below the income levels shown in this table on the right. These are the same requirements as to meet the Tier 2 requirements of the Clean BC income qualified program, which can also offer some significant supports. When it comes to providing proof of income, we recommend that you can provide your notice of assessment. There's also some Saanich specific programs that you can use as proof of income. For example, the Saanich Life program. And we are also working in collaboration with the Clean BC Income Qualified program. So if you provide proof of your acceptance into that program, that can work as your proof of income. So how to submit your program documentation. In order to protect your personal information, and not just send it through email, we are utilizing a secure file transfer service to transfer any documents once they contain your personal information. We'll just provide a brief demonstration of how to send and receive those files now. So I'm just going to stop the presentation for a moment. So if you've messaged us about the program at any point or expressed interest, you may have received an email similar to this that includes a secure upload link. This link is also available on the program webpage at saanich.ca/heat pump financing. So if you just click on this link, it'll bring you right to the Oil to Heat Pump Financing Program submission portal. All you need to do is put in your name. Mine's already all set up. Oh, that's my personal email. And so you just have to put that in, and then you have two options here. You can either, if I just have this blank registration form on my desktop, I can drag it right over and it'll accept it into the form. It's all loaded now. The other option is if you just click on this area, it'll bring up something like this, and then I can just find it in my desktop and upload it that way. And so once I've got that uploaded, there's just a send file button, which is being hidden by the Zoom menu, but I'll find it. There it is. Now just click send. And that's all that you need to do for that. So it is a pretty simple service. Just click on that link, add that information, and you should be good to go. Other than that, if you'd prefer a less technical way of submitting your documentation, you can always print off, fill out the forms, and you can drop off your documentation at the municipal hall at the third floor planning counter, or by mail or in person to the City Green office. Attention of the Saanich Oil to Heat Pump Financing Program. We're located at Suite 214 at 620 View Street, just north of the Bay Center. So we'll just go through a few FAQs. So when should you try and get your official contractor quote? Essentially, those contractor quotes need to stay valid until the financing agreement is signed. So most contractors, due to supply chain issues, are only keeping their quotes valid for 30 days at the moment. So we're recommending that you wait to get your official quote until a week or two after your EnerGuide evaluation is completed. That way you give yourself time to get the EnerGuide report, submit that documentation, have it reviewed, and then sign the financing agreement. That's not to say that you can't start searching and contacting different contractors to decide who you want to work with. We do recommend you talk to a few different contractors to compare costs and recommendations. What happens if the final invoice cost is higher than the quoted cost? We are allowing a 5% wiggle room if the cost is a bit higher. For example, if you decide after you've gone in that, oh, maybe I do want a bit of a nicer air filtration system on my heat pump, we won't require reapproval if it's within a 5% change. Over that, just have to kind of submit your quote again, just to give us that updated information. When it comes to property taxes, participants who are deferring their municipal property taxes, you can continue to do that. However, I'll just note that you won't be able to defer the financing payments themselves. Those will be payable at the same time as you normally would pay your property taxes. Participants who are deferring their provincial property taxes, so there is a equity limit on your home that is required by the BC tax deferral service. And so we just recommend that you talk to them about to make sure that you're not going over that equity change. We don't expect it to be an issue since this is quite a small financing for when it comes to the value of your home, but just good to check with them. So will the program cover deposits? For quotes where the deposit is greater than the difference between the financing maximum and the total cost of the system, the District of Saanich will cover a deposit up to 25%. So that means if a system is less than $12,000, then we'll get this. The program can cover that 25% deposit. And then for an example of above that, for example, if there's a $14,000 system and the contractor wants a $3,000 deposit, because there is that $1,000 overlap, the program will pay the $1,000 deposit, homeowner will pay the other $2,000 that would be considered above the maximum of the financing. When it comes to deadlines, there are going to be multiple intake deadlines for this program. Like we mentioned, the next deadline for submitting a petition is June 6th. And that's the deadline to participate in that specific intake period. If you miss that deadline, you may be able to participate in the next deadline or the next intake period. But just to note that you will have to get it in before it goes to council. After your bylaw has been adopted, installation of equipment and submission of the documentation by your contractor should occur within 10 months of the participants of the bylaw in action. That deadline is flexible in special circumstances. So if there's something that delays your installation or something else comes up, if you just give us some written confirmation of what your situation is, we can be flexible with that deadline. Due to funding requirements, we do have a hard deadline that all installations must occur by the end of 2023. So that deadline is less flexible. And so that is the deadline for this pilot. And that comes to the end of the presentation. We'll be happy to answer your questions now. It looks like